Hey everybody, welcome to HSA 1102 Introduction to Healthcare. So each week, as I said in my welcome video, I do a coursework review. So where we review what's due for the week, and I try to point out some of the pitfalls that other students have fallen into while completing some of the assignments. I will also review some of the things that I found in the grading the week before if I have the grading done. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is go to the Getting Started section. Here you'll see the coursework overview, some of the people who are involved with helping you with the program for the medical assisting and medical billing program, some of the course objectives of what you need to know. If you have not ordered your textbook as of yet, make sure that you do get this ordered. You will need it. We do have assignments that come from the textbook. So even though you can see the slides in the Kaiser Live session and review that in the recorded session, if you don't have the textbook, you're not going to be able to complete some of the assignments. So make sure that you have that textbook. Here is the ISBN. If you're ordering it outside of the Kaiser University bookstore, you will need this. If you're utilizing it with the university bookstore, you just put in undergraduate HSA at the course number 1102, and it will bring up the book that you need. Certification. Certification is a statement stating that you will do your own work. You will not utilize anybody else's work, and you will not plagiarize. So when you go into this, you click on true if you agree, and then move forward. This should be done by, I would say, the middle of the week, so Thursday. And then you also have a pretest. Now the pretest is an ungraded assignment, but you still are required to take it. What this does is it gives me an idea of where your knowledge lies in healthcare, so I know how to tweak the class. It also establishes the baseline that we look at when you take the post-test at the end of the course to see how much you've learned and how much you have retained. You also have an introduction. If you click on this right here, it will take you to the introduction section, and you can go ahead and create a thread to start your introduction. I do encourage you to read other classmates' instructions, introductions, and reply to them. I will be reading each one and replying to each one as well. Okay, so going back to getting started, you also have some program resources. There are some APA resources in the program resources section. You will need to know APA for your written papers and your discussions. You will need to know it for future classes as well as you have writing assignments. So it behooves you to get to know it now. So APA is basically when you're utilizing somebody else's research or something from an article or magazine or whatever it might be, you're giving credit to the authors for their work, and you're also letting your reader know that you are utilizing someone else's information to make your point. Then there's always, when you cite that work, you always have a corresponding reference with that. And what that reference does, so if I'm reading your article and I see the citation, I know that you took that information and you didn't utilize their words exactly. You paraphrase so that it's in your words, but it means the same. Or you did a direct quote. So I know you're utilizing that information, but I want to know more about that. So I go to the reference, I find the source, and I can read up on that. Okay, there are also some course resources, how to submit papers to the OWL, OWL submission forms, things like that. There are videos on APA as well. So we recently switched from the 6th edition to the 7th edition. So the first video talks about some of the changes there. So if you're familiar with APA and the 6th edition, you need to view this to become familiar with the 7th. There are also a video on the basics of doing an in-text citation and how you format that and what you need in that citation. There is a video on plagiarism, and we take plagiarism very serious here at the university, and it can result in your suspension from the university for plagiarizing. You do not want to take word from word from a source. Your textbook, an article, whatever it might be, you do not want to take it word for word. You need to paraphrase, put it into your own words so that it means the same thing, and then cite it. Then you're not plagiarizing. If you do it word for word, you're plagiarizing. And we do have tools to see if you are. So please don't do it. It's not worth it. 5 easy steps to how to paraphrase. And this will teach you how to put things into your own words so that you are not plagiarizing. So take time to view those. All right, so let's go ahead and get to week 1's assignments real quick. All right, so for you have your learning activities. You will need to read chapters 1 and 2 for this week. And then, excuse me, after you've read the chapters, you have assignments for the week. You have the week 1 discussion. And I will point out, because this is something that all students, or not all, but a lot of students did even as late as last term. It says both discussion questions must be answered. So it's not a choice of whether you answer one or the other. You must answer both of the responses below. And all of your posts must be 100 words in length. If not, you will lose points for that. So I recommend that your first post be on Thursday so you can meet that 3-day separate day requirement that's just below. You're required to post 4 separate posts on 3 separate days. So if you post 4 separate posts on 2 separate days, you're going to lose points. If you post 3 separate posts on 3 separate days, you're still going to lose points because you didn't meet the 4 separate posts. So make sure 4 separate posts on 3 separate days. Make sure you're including citations and references. At minimum, you should be citing and referencing your textbook because that's where you're taking the information from. All right, so your first, well, before I go into that, let me go into the rubric real quick to show you how you're going to be graded on your discussions. You will not have this section here because this is unique to instructors, but I want to show you the rubric real quick. So, all right, so for the quality of posts, you have met expectation, partially met expectations, and below expectations. So for quality of posts, I'm looking, were you thoughtful in your responses, reflective and respectful? Were your responses at least 100 words? Most people are thoughtful, reflective, and respectful, so that I don't necessarily have to look for all the time because everybody's usually that way when they respond. However, I do have to look for the number of words that you're providing per post. And again, 100 words for each post, as it says there. You can earn up to 15 points. If you're providing a response and it's halfway there, you're not really giving it your all, you're going to lose points. If the words are not at least 100 words, you're going to lose points. And if you respond to someone saying, I agree, well, you're probably not going to get too many points. You'll probably be down in the below expectations section. So make sure that you're responding so that you're trying to encourage other people to respond to your post based on what you've written, and you also want 100 words. The relevance to the topic. You want to make sure that you're thoroughly answering the question. Make sure you read and understand the question. And that's where these coursework reviews tend to help out because I'm going to go into detail about what you need to answer for this to get the points you need. If I respond to your post, maybe you're off track a little bit, and I say, you know what, go back to chapter 1 where you'll find a paragraph that's titled Learning to Think Like a Healthcare Professional, and you'll find several examples. I'm telling you where to go. I'm not telling you the page number, but I'm telling you where to go, and I'm telling you the answer basically So go back there and answer that question based on where I redirected you to get you back on track so you don't lose points. If I ask a question of you, I expect an answer back. Because I'm taking the time to answer your post, I expect you to take the time to answer mine as well. So if you don't, you will lose at least 2 points for not answering the question. Contribution to the discussion, this is where I look for. How many posts did you post? Did you post 4 separate posts on 3 separate days? Was it substantive? Was it 3 separate posts on 2 separate days or whatever? This is where you'll either get your points or lose your points. And you're not limited to 4 separate posts. You can post over that if you feel like you have something to say. Go ahead and post above 4 separate posts. It only helps you. Spelling and grammar. I grade very hard on spelling and grammar, and for 2 reasons. First of all, we're all at the collegiate level, and when you graduate here, people expect that you know how to spell and write. So that's one reason. Number 2, you're going to be documenting medical records, which are legal documents. And if you misspell something and the doctor misinterprets what you're trying to say to him or her, that could result in a misdiagnosis, a bad treatment plan, and that could be detrimental to the patient. And if you're going into medical billing and coding, if you say something incorrectly, it could result in a bad result for either the clinic or for the patient. So you need to make sure that you're doing that. So I do grade hard on that. So for each spelling or grammar error that you have, you lose a point. What I suggest to students is that when you're getting ready to write your discussion, write it in a Word document and then conduct a spelling grammar check so that you know that you can identify the errors and correct them as you go, then copy and paste it into your discussion thread. If you have any questions on that, please let me know. APA guidelines. Now, for your discussions, I don't expect a formal paper set up in APA. I don't expect a separate title page. I don't expect an abstract. I don't expect a separate reference page. I just want you to cite your source, and at minimum, you should be citing your textbook because you're utilizing that to answer your discussion questions, or you should be. And then you should have a corresponding reference just down below the post. You don't need a formal setup. For your written assignment, you will, but for the discussions, you do not. So make sure that you have at least a in-text citation and a corresponding reference. Again, review those resources in the program resource section, as well as the getting started section with the videos to help you with APA. If you're still confused after that, let me know. We'll set up a one-on-one Kaiser Live or a phone call, and I'll walk you through that. Okay, enough of that. So let's go back to week 1 and go to the discussion question. Okay, so for the discussion question, your first response asks you, Chapter 1 discusses thinking like a professional. In your own words, and when they say in your own words, they're meaning do not plagiarize. Paraphrase based on your reading of thinking like a healthcare professional, not acting like a healthcare professional, or aspects of being a healthcare professional. They're asking you to, how do you think like a healthcare professional? And a lot of students tell me how they act like, but not how they think like or should think like. And there's a whole paragraph in chapter 1 that's titled, Learning to Think Like a Healthcare Professional. So you go back to that paragraph, you find the examples, there should be at least 3, and tell me how to think like a healthcare professional and how you would incorporate that into your professional life. And then you will think of a time when you encountered someone or something unprofessional in the healthcare arena while maintaining privacy. Feel free to share that experience with the class. Now, if you don't have a healthcare unprofessional example, everybody's experienced something that has been unprofessional in our lives. Share that. But I would prefer it to be healthcare related since that's what we're studying. Your second response says, review the history of healthcare within Chapter 2. So there's a whole chronological list of events that happened over the history of healthcare. And after you've reviewed that, you want to provide at least 3 examples or 3 events that you think were beneficial to healthcare overall. For the second part of that, you want to identify at least 1, if not more, events that occurred that were beneficial to the patient individual, not as a whole for healthcare, but as for the patient individually. So I need 3 examples of healthcare overall and 3 example of how an event that was beneficial to the patient as an individual. Then I need you to identify some of the trends and challenges, healthcare challenges and trends that we have in the future, and explain why you think they're trends and challenges, and if you think we'll see those come to fruition in our lifetime or not. And then respond to your fellow students or to me. So if you're going to, for those of you new to Blackboard, to start your discussion, and you must answer your question first before you can see your students, fellow students' replies, because I don't want you to regurgitate what your fellow students are saying. I want your views. So I don't show you the discussions before, you have to answer them. So to do that, you hit create a thread, and then once that loads, you type in the subject, so learning to think like a health care professional. All right, so I have my title in there. Then I answer the question, and I provide 3 examples of thinking like a healthcare professional, why and how I think I'll put that into my professional life. And once I'm done with my post, and again, I would suggest writing it in a Word document, conducting a spelling grammar check, and then putting it in to your discussion post by copying it from the Word document and then paste it in here. The one thing I will tell you about copying and pasting in Blackboard, to paste it, you have to hit Control V as in Victor to get it to paste, because it doesn't do right-click paste for some reason. Make sure it's cited and referenced, and then what we will do is I'll move this over here. You'll see the submit at the bottom. Click submit, and that submits your discussion for others to read and others to respond to. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know, and I will be more than happy to answer them for you. Week 1 assignment. All right, so we have a written assignment. You're to start that in week 1 and submit it to the OWL for review at the end of week 1. The actual final draft is not due until the end of week 2, but do not wait to get started. Start it now and then submit it to the OWL by the end of the week. And I have another video in the announcement section that tells you how to submit it to the OWL. Make sure that you have an OWL submission form along with your rough draft that is attached, and view that video to see how to do that. So your assignment is that we're going to look at problem solving and how that will help you with healthcare. And so your first thing you want to do is identify, you want to read this section on 5-step problem solving process in chapter 1, and then you're going to identify a problem in your own life. It does not have to be healthcare related. It can be any problem that you want to work on. So identify a problem. You're going to gather information on that problem, create a list of alternatives, choose one of the alternatives or a hybrid of alternatives, and then act upon it, and then how will you revise, or how will you measure that choice, and how will you revise it if it's not working. So while you're writing this, do not number the questions. You are writing a formal paper. So each of the questions, or each of the steps in the 5-step process, should be a new paragraph. And then you will also need, as per APA, you will need 250 words. It should be double spaced. Choose one of the acceptable fonts. It should have a separate title page and a separate reference page and an in-text citation. You do not, I repeat, you do not need an abstract for this formal paper. Then once you've done all this and you have it ready for a rough draft, you want to submit it to the OWL. The OWL will confirm your submission, so if you don't get a confirmation email, it did not go through. When you get the confirmation email, it went through. They'll review it within 24 to 48 hours. Then they send back another email with your rough draft attached and the OWL submission form again with their recommendations. At that time, forward that email to me so I have it for grading, and then you review the recommendations and incorporate them into your final draft. When you have your final draft ready at the end of week 2 or before if you like, submit it. But once you submitted it, it's there. So make sure it's ready and before you submit. Again, any questions, let me know. You also have week 1 quiz to take, and then we have extra credit. If you attend the class and you're active in class, you'll get 0.5 points. If you're not answering the questions I'm asking in the classroom, that may be reduced. If you're unable to attend the live session, which are always held on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, then you can write a summary of 100 to 200 words telling me what the lecture was about, using specific examples of what I talked about or what we did in class to make the point, so that you're not just reviewing the slides, you're reviewing the actual recorded session and telling me what I've said or examples that I gave or videos that I showed, just so I know that you actually did watch the session. Then you submit that by clicking up here in the left-hand corner, and then you should have saved the document, a Word document, on your computer. You can hit Browse Local Files, find that document, double-click it, it will attach it. If you saved it on cloud service or the cloud, then you click here and then attach it. Once you've done that, you come down to the bottom in the right-hand corner and hit Submit, and that will put it in for grading. Same thing for your writing assignment. It's the same way. All right, so that's week 1. It's a little long. It's a lot to cover. A lot of people are new, so I'm trying to go over everything. These will not be this long in the future. I promise you that. If you have any questions, please, please, please let me know. Have a good day. Oh, and I'm not usually this scraggly. I'm doing a fundraiser for Movember with the university, so halfway through the class, most of this will be gone. Have a good day.